Here
Hi.
we are with Phillip again,
Welcome,
and
everybody.
we are with Love and Family Life with our friend Swami Rama.
Good friend to have. Good friend to have.
And anyway, so there we go. And let me take that out and put in the chapter where we are. We're starting chapter 2. Or Phillip is starting chapter 2.
I think collectively, all of us are starting chapter 2. It's not. This
Okay,
is.
we're all starting chapter 2, and Phillip is just adding wisdom from the perspective of being a yogi living in a family life. See, that's the title, Love and Family Life.
Yeah, I'm just driving the car over here. That's it. That's all. We're just going along for a nice ride.
All righty.
What do you think? Are you ready? You ready to go for a ride?
Yeah, whenever you are.
Oh, I like to ease into the text over there.
Okay, all right. You can say some words of wisdom or yoga or something.
Well, one of the things I was thinking when in preparing for this discussion, I had been reading, and I know I live in D.C. I'm not trying to make this political, but I think this is. I've been actually reading Hillary Clinton's book about what happened in the election.
Oh my! Well,
the reason why I bring it up is
half
because
the audience right now.
Yeah, half the audience is gone. I'm not trying to say good, bad, or anything about Hillary. I think what's fascinating about real world, looking at people is bringing in real world examples of what we're talking about, seeing people that are struggling with kind of the same questions, seeing the commonality that's happening in this. And so what I really thought was really fascinating about this particular book, or really what struck with me, is she's talking about the whole election and what's happening. There is this whole spiritual component that's in it, and that you wouldn't think would be coming from somebody who's running for president or in that high of a level. I don't know. I'm not trying to project, but I think sometimes we think that it's just about people, us spiritual seekers, thinking about this, but it's a common thread in everybody's life. And I just thought there were a couple examples here that really bring this home. And one of the things that I was struck was she was actually talking about. She actually made reference. She actually made reference to an old Republican strategist in here, Lee Atwater. And I don't know if people that not that you have to be familiar with him, but he was actually one of the strategists to get George Bush Sr. into office, and he was a very cutthroat, as with all political strategists, I guess. Swami, he was a very cutthroat strategist and somebody that had attacked Hillary and others and the Democrats for a long time.
Is there something that she quotes him as saying that we could gain some insight from?
That's right. So that's what I'm getting. Sorry. Thanks for keeping me on track. So this is what he actually penned an op-ed. He got cancer and died at an early age, and it limited his political career. But here's what I thought was really powerful on this one.
A little hard to continue after you're dead, huh?
It is hard to continue a political career, although they might try, but it is difficult to do that. This was actually an op-ed that he penned in Life magazine, if people can remember back then. And this is his words, not mine. Long before I was struck with cancer, I felt something stirring in American society. It was a sense among the people of the country, Republicans and Democrats alike, that something was missing from their lives, something crucial. I was trying to position the Republican Party to take advantage of it, but I wasn't exactly sure what it was. My illness, he's referring to this cancer, helped me to see that what was missing in society is what was missing in me: a little heart and a lot of brotherhood. The 80s were about acquiring wealth, power, prestige. I know I acquired more wealth, power, and prestige than most. This is amazing because, I just want to kind of emphasize, this is a person at the top of his game, at the height of his political power, having some insight on his deathbed and writing these words. But you can acquire all you want and still feel empty. What power wouldn't I trade for a little more time with my family? What price wouldn't I pay for an evening with friends. It took a deadly illness to put my eye to eye with that truth, but it is a truth that the country, caught up in its ruthless ambitions and moral decay, can learn on my dime. I don't know who will lead us through the 90s, but they must be made to speak to the spiritual vacuum at the heart of American society. And he called it this tumor of the soul.
Tumor of the soul.
Tumor of the soul is what he talked about. Sorry, and I have a dog barking in the background. Ready, stop. That's the postman coming to get us. I just thought it really spoke to me, going back and tying this back to the love and family life, that even at the highest level of what you do, there is this void, and what he was observing, this tumor, this need for self-realization, this need not only to be self-realized, but to connect this brotherhood with others. And a couple other things, just while we're on this one. The other thing that really struck me talking about this as example was Hillary. In this book, she laid out what happened, and again, I'm not trying to politicize that, but I think everybody can agree that I've never seen anything more detrimental or a bigger turn or a bigger obstacle or any sort of letdown on a professional career. I mean, this is a woman who's spending her whole life trying to get to a spot all the way to reach this pinnacle of president of the United States. And it's there, it's within her grasp, it's almost there. And it just, not only does it get snatched away, but it gets snatched away in such a unbelievably terrible fashion. I mean, anybody in their right mind would never forgive a person for having anger and to stop doing what they're doing, Well,
I think probably, I'm not sure this is true. You might consider it a different level or something like that. But I think it's probably true that most every one of us has at some point in our life experienced what would commonly be called a colossal failure. And we have lost at something. We have failed to succeed at something.
Yeah.
And if we are alert, we can see these moments as inspiration to look for something that is not about success and failure, but that is eternal.
That's right.
I think that we have all experienced something like that colossal loss that she went through.
I agree, and that's a good segue too, Swami, because one of the things that she has this closing sentence in one of her chapters, because she's struggling with this. Here's a woman who's like, how do I make sense of this and the anger that's around me? And this is what she says. She says, it's the only way I see forward for myself. I can carry around my bitterness forever, or I can open my heart once more to love and kindness. Sorry. And that's the path I choose.
Yeah.
And I just thought this was a very extreme example of somebody going back to what you said. What's important, that we all have that choice to choose love.
Yeah.
And then one other, sorry, I know I'm beating this to death over here, but I mean, I just think this, again, go back to the practical example. The other one that I saw on here too, that's a good lesson in what we're teaching, is the ability to just go on. And so she actually goes into the story, and she goes back to her college where this is one of the first public speeches that she's given since the election. And she really is struggling with what to say to people. And she goes to the story about this young girl who's graduating, the valedictorian of the class, and how Hillary is waiting on the wings to give her speech, and she's watching this girl give this speech. And the girl talks about the future, her hopefulness for the future and what she's doing. And she starts actually talking about how much Hillary inspired her in this particular instance. She talked about this word of being vulnerable, of having flaws, and the beauty in having flaws. But it came from a different strength. And as Hillary was watching that, she realized that even in her failure, she had inspired others in this particular one. It was a very touching moment. And what her punchline was is that even in these days where there doesn't seem to be hope, or whether you might not choose love, or you feel like, I think we all have had that experience where you feel like things aren't going right, or the love and family life that we've been discussing isn't, what do you do? And it really is about, she just says, all you have to do, there's only one choice, is you just pick yourself up and you just keep going. There's nothing else to do. What else do you have to do? You just keep going. You keep choosing this love. And that's what really kind of, I don't know, in a very unexpected place, I found a lot of the lessons that tie back to what we've been talking about in this our conversation.
You kind of see it everywhere once we look around, huh?
I think so. I don't know. I feel like I feel like that's a helpful observation to have. That you don't feel isolated, like you're the only one struggling with these types of things. It is a common struggle, and that even and then when you look at these extreme examples, how no matter how bad something might look in our life, we all have the ability to choose love, and we all have this great instruction. Just keep going on. What else is there to do? You just pick yourself back up, dust yourself off, choose love and kindness, and keep going.
And find the source of it all that lies within.
That's right. So,
okay.
Thank you for allowing me to go on that side.
Oh, of course. It's the Phillip Show.
It is. So that I've finished with one book. Let's dive into the actual book that we're here. We're talking about developing spiritual intimacy.
And this is chapter 2.
Chapter 2. From the beginning of history, there have been two major paths that people have taken in life in order to seek the goal of a deeper happiness and peace. A few sincere souls have decided to genuinely renounce the world's attractions in order to attain the highest wisdom. That's the guy in the orange over there. The path of renunciation actually means not keeping or possessing, or actually it's the guy, am I this way? It's the guy this way, right? This is the guy right there.
The other way. It's
that way. I got to get used to where I'm pointing on this thing.
And you are that way.
All right, good. All right. The path of renunciation actually means not keeping or possessing anything for oneself. Instead, these wise ones serve others, knowing that by doing so, they are utilizing their time and energy in the best way. Living their lives in service to others is a characteristic by which you will recognize them. Most people, however, still experience strong and compelling attractions to many things. That's this way. That's me. This guy right here. Right? They want to fulfill the desires for marriage, parenthood, and the conventional life. Thus, there is a second path which is traveled by most people in the world called the path of action. Throughout history, there has been confusion about which of these paths is superior. It's clearly the path of action. It's clearly the one that I'm on. Is the
sure.
And that's why we're reading Love and Family Life, so we can feel very superior. Yeah. Those in orange over there.
There you go.
A story is told to help clarify this confusion. Once, an arrogant Swami who had meditated in the mountains for many years boasted about his spiritual advancement, thinking he was superior to householders. He came down from the mountains to exhibit the powers he had gained in his studies. He had such a powerful gaze that if he looked at a bird flying overhead, its wings would catch fire and burn, and the bird would fall to the ground. He was very egotistical about his supposed spiritual power. You don't have that, do you? You can't just look at a bird and, that. No. You missed out on that Swami course, right?
Yeah, missed that one.
Oh, well.
Played hooky that day.
Yeah, which book are we? We're not reading that book. That's right.
Yeah, we're reading a different book.
That'll be the next one. You join us next book discussion, and we'll read about how to set birds on fire with your mind. Going back to it, eventually in his travels, he came to the home of a couple, and he said rudely to the woman, "I want food, and I have no time to waste. It is your duty to feed me because I devote all my time to the Lord." The woman, who was serving her husband's dinner at the time, said to him quietly but firmly, "Right now I'm doing my duty toward my husband lovingly. But don't ever make the mistake of thinking that I'm as powerless as that bird you killed. I have far more power than you. If you think that you can hurt me, you are mistaken." The Swami was stunned to realize that she had acquired the power to know many things about him while she was still living in the world, doing her duties as a wife. He fell at her feet and said, "Mother, clearly I have yet to understand the path of the world. Now I see that it too is a great path." But the Swami was not unusual. Many people do not realize the power of family life. This is the path of living in the world, loving others, and also seeking and attaining the highest wisdom. Some people who want to follow the spiritual path are not content with their lives in the world. They do not appreciate how the path of marriage and parenthood helps them to fulfill life's ultimate purpose. And I would say part of that, and I think you'd probably get into that, the appreciation part might not be where you don't understand it. I don't think, understanding the path of marriage and parenthood. And that's what I hope this love and family life discussion brings to people, that understanding. Then follows appreciation. The path of a human being is not meant to be that of a loner who travels through life by himself or herself. If we want to express the meaning of life in a single sentence, it is that life means having relationships. Without relationships, life has no significance at all. The closest relationship in the world is that between a wife and a husband, and the next most intimate relationship is that between parents and children. Sometimes people wonder why the institution of the family was established. Marriage and family relationships do not exist merely because of the biological necessities of sex or childbirth. There is something deeper, which is responsible for the establishment of family life and which differentiates humans from animals. The most basic urges and drives that influence human life are also found throughout the animal kingdom. But there is an important difference between human beings and animals. The life and behavior of animals are primarily controlled by the forces of nature and instinct. But the life of a human being is not controlled this way. Instead, human beings are controlled mostly by mind, emotions, and by relationships. A human being thinks, understands, communicates, and participates in life in ways that animals cannot share. All these special qualities originate in the institution of the family. The family exists in order to foster and cultivate these qualities in human beings. A lot of pressure there, I think.
Mm-hmm. Hello, Maya.
Hi, Maya. Welcome. I like her avatar there. It looks like a beautiful place. When the human race learns to live as a family, then the world will finally attain the next stage of civilization and enlightenment. Families are meant to be centers of love, which radiate their love outward to other families. A family is meant to radiate only love, rather than hatred, jealousy, competition, or other negative emotions. When people understand this purpose and can share the experience, then they can create joy and peace through society. When peace reigns, there will no longer be hatred or disturbances between people, and the human mind will automatically be led upward towards the highest center of consciousness. And just going back, to reflect on what we've discussed before, and that is the importance of the family life as a training ground for peace, happiness in the world. It can be difficult to relate to others, to think about world peace, or to think about, serving all of mankind or others. And what this book is really trying to hone in on is using family life as a training ground for that.
Yeah, service in the family rather than, and maybe that has an effect on the whole world.
Yeah, well, you learn the tools of relating to your significant other, of relating to your family, and then you take those into the world with you. But here's where you learn. So you scrolled up a little too far. Let's go back down just a little bit. Oh, the path of marriage and family life is not inferior to any other path, nor is marriage meant solely to express our biological or emotional needs. The purpose of marriage is to establish and teach the fundamental principles of society, so that all children can develop fully and the entire society can eventually attain a state of peace and happiness. Homes are meant to be places where people create and preserve a state of serenity and peace. Homes exist to establish peace so that every person can learn to radiate and share love. Our homes can satisfy many of our emotional needs and help us to learn about our hearts. Homes are not places to create power struggles or ego battles. They're not places to demonstrate or show off our intellect. And I'm hearing some feedback on that now, so it just started a few sentences ago. Some people use their mind and emotions in their homes destructively, arguing, judging others, or trying to establish control over others to satisfy their ego needs. That does not help us achieve the full potential of a home. When homes provide children with a chance to receive love and enjoy the experience of being loved, then children learn to share their love with others as well. We all need to learn how to live in our homes and also how to live in the world outside the home. There are two different principles or concepts in life. You talk to your spouse and your business colleagues in different ways and on different levels. When you talk to your business associates, it is wise to be thoughtful and consider your doubts first, examining what people say carefully so that you protect yourself before you act. But at home, you should not maintain this attitude of skepticism, doubt, or self-protectiveness. At home, you can express yourself openly and spontaneously. You can be completely yourself. In the family, you can develop a trust and intimacy that are not usually possible in the world outside. This is possible when we respect the role of marriage in our lives. I just want to pause here, Swami, because I have some thoughts a little bit on this, but I'd really like to dig into this concept a little bit more about being open immediately in your family and being a little more guarded with work around you. I see the practical application, but I also remember when we first discussed this, and I'm still hearing feedback too. I don't know if that's...
I wish I could help with the feedback, but I don't know what to do.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, we'll just go on. I remember when we first discussed this. I mean, it seemed counterintuitive that if what's being taught here is to love all and selflessly serve, and you love with your family, and then you spread that out to others, but then what's saying the other instruction here is to be at least first hesitant with others in the jobs and relationships, which I understand practically, but I have always struggled with trying to figure out the instruction there. Does that make any sense, or am I rambling?
Well, no, I understand what you're pondering. And to me, my sense of what he's suggesting there is meant, you used the word a moment ago, it's meant to be very, very practical.
Wow.
Notice the levity and the spontaneity that is in the living room of your own home. Yeah. It's captured in the playfulness of all of you dressed up for Halloween. And it's just clear that you're a family, excuse me, playing.
Yeah.
And I've watched your kids. They are given open permission to just be totally kids and say and do whatever they want to do. And you and Candy are the same way with them pretty much. Now, do you take that, literally that same degree of beingness and take it with you if you're going to a restaurant down the street?
Yeah.
You don't do that sitting in the restaurant. And if your children start to behave the way they do at home sitting in the restaurant, you'll discipline. You'll help try to teach them that there's a sort of social behavior of being in restaurants or being anywhere or being in a meeting at work and all this. Yeah. My sense of this is that we're all aware that there is an additional sense of freedom that occurs inside your own family, inside your own home. And so my sense of what we're looking at here is meant to be extremely practical.
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of people struggle on this, is that they understand maybe how to be spiritual within the house, but then the practical application of when you step out the door and you go into the world seems to be, and I think that's what Swami Rama keeps coming back to is understanding that not only that you live in the world, you're in the world, and you have to be aware of that.
Yeah, and then there's an art. There's an art of balancing that.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to put exact words to that, but there's an art of balancing that.
Yeah.
And we just all continually learn to do the best we can with it. Sometimes when I ponder that, I think of the people over at our grocery store where we walk across the street almost every day and buy stuff. Well, we're pretty friendly people, and so the people who work there several of them recognize us, know us very well, and we will speak cordially and lovingly to one another.
Yeah.
There's one of the cashiers who is very mindful when all of a sudden Matri is not here for, it takes her usually a week or two, and she'll notice that she's not coming with me to the store.
Right.
And she will inquire about her. And I think it was yesterday or the day before I walked in there, and this woman was not on a cashier station at the moment, but rather she was off on a, what do you have, a display place. She was cooking samples of some food, something. And I walked by and just said hello. And she just said to me, "She's still in the Netherlands?" And I said, "Yep, couple more weeks."
Yeah.
"Okay." And I said, "I told her you said hello." She said, "Thank you." And so, I mean, there's a friendliness, and so that friendliness there is a carryover of the friendliness here, but it's not quite the same. We don't talk about meditation. I would say, "How's your meditation?" You know, and I mean, there's just, it's different.
Yeah.
But we carry it with us.
Go ahead. I didn't interrupt you, guys.
No, not. I was just saying that it's kind of comparable. So, you know, we take that from here into the out there. All of us do that.
Yeah, I think reflecting on that same thing, I often ponder, with kids, you see the love that you have and the understanding and acceptance of your kids, and you'll understand that they're going through and growing and doing different things, and there is this kind of selfless love and unconditional love for them, and it gives you a taste of what that looks like. So I do find it a great observation when I'm out with their friends or in the groups that they're with, that there's an acknowledgement. I understand when I'm interacting with these kids how that selfless love is there, but I treat them differently than I would my kids out there. But I have a benchmark for understanding them a little bit more and at a deeper level.
Yeah, and as you say that, I'm recalling one time that I was visiting there, and you dragged me out to a soccer game.
That's right.
And you were cheering on your kid and all like that, and you were, of course, you were cheering her team as well, yep. But you were just a little bit more cheering her than you were because she's your kid.
That's right. She's my kid. That's right. But yes, that part, I do cheer the other ones on, and that as that example too. I understand, the need for people to feel like they had that community, that relationship. And so we do a lot of, and it's a silly example, but it's how I hold that. I see the value of having relationships and getting people to know one another in our household. And so I try to take that out to, say, the soccer team. So as you always poke fun at me, I'm the social coordinator for those guys, and we bring them together and we just sit around and chat and get to know one another and have some experience. It's not that. And so it's this principle that I learned in the family that I take and apply to the world. And I don't sit around and talk about meditation or other things with them or deep, but it's nice. It's this friendliness that's there, and we get to talk about the things that living it, and it's good. So thank you for that. That's good. That's helpful.
Okay, you ready to move on?
Yeah, I am. I like more of the dialogue than I do the reading. So I'll try to.
That's the way they work together, isn't it? The dialogue gives us a message, and then you chat about it a little.
That's right. So we'll see what message we get that we can chat about here.
We'll see what's next.
That's right. Most of the established cultures of the world have a similar approach to marriage. They foster and encourage engagements between those who are preparing to marry. Often in this process, a ring is exchanged to symbolize the commitment. In the ancient scriptures, this custom is explained poetically and beautifully. When two people exchange rings at their engagement, it signifies that these two people are prepared to marry and to make the deep commitment that marriage requires. They understand the symbol of the ring, in which the two separate ends of a band of metal come together to form a perfect round ring. Traditionally, two people who become engaged to marry prepare themselves to remain within the circle of their love, which is symbolized by the ring. They are testing their commitment to the necessary adaptations of married life. After the engagement is completed, the marriage ceremony takes place. Some people marry and go through this wedding ceremony because of its social meaning. Weddings satisfy a very superficial desire for fun, status, attention, and pleasure. Other people marry due to loneliness. They feel they are missing something in life and think that the other person can end that loneliness. Such people betray each other by exclaiming, "Now I feel complete because you are with me." People sometimes say this to satisfy each other's emotional needs. Because no one can fully satisfy all another person's needs, both partners eventually become unhappy, and depression or anger may develop. And, well, let me read this next paragraph. When two people want to marry, it is helpful if they decide to live together to truly share their lives rather than merely to satisfy each other's marital or biological desires.
Material.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you. For the first step of marriage is learning to share, and to share, couples need to appreciate the importance of the word participation. For example, if your wife enjoys playing the piano but you discourage her, telling her that you don't like to listen to her playing the piano, then defect or weakness will be created in the marriage. You are not participating in her interests or letting her be herself. You are refusing to share what is important to her. Then perhaps one day you'll want to walk in the woods, and will ask her to come with you, but she will say, "Why would you want to go there? I don't enjoy that." She will give you the same kind of treatment that you gave her. To succeed in marriage, you need to create an acceptance of each other's preferences as separate individuals. Each person should learn to appreciate and admire the other's taste. If the husband likes to wear a particular style of color, his wife shouldn't try to criticize him or control his choices by telling him what to wear. If people try to appreciate the taste, aesthetic sense, and the hobbies of their partner, they can create real sharing. This is what it means to appreciate the other person and participate with him or her. Often husbands do not take the time to share and communicate with their wives. Actually, before I do that, let's pause at the participate. I mean, I think it's certainly a key instruction over here, and I would say that a lot of people, when they participate, what I would see is not so much participate, but eventually kind of give up and just stop. Either like that's their thing and they can go do it, or eventually it just kind of comes to an end where they just stop even engaging in this. And
then in a sense, the relationship is sort of ending.
It's right.
They're not together.
That's right. They'll just stop going for the walk in the woods with them, and then the other person will stop asking, or as many times as you would say you shouldn't wear that, or I don't like that, then eventually just stop even engaging in that. It's just kind of the first process. So I feel like we're trying to get to the practical application of how to do these things, but before you get to the big grandiose part where you're completely separated and you're going in different directions, here is a very practical application and instruction here. Look at the small things. Are you participating? Are you engaging in the small things in your life? And if not, can you start beginning to do those types of things a little bit more, or at least being aware of that?
And, of course, finding enjoyment in observing their enjoyment. I've noticed that this seems to happen a lot between parents and children. Both parents may learn to appreciate and value that the children are having a good time doing something, but the couple is not enjoying one another.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm saying that well, but it seems to be a kind of sometimes common thing. There's Jose. Hola, Jose.
Hi, Jose. Welcome.
And Maya says, me and my husband always looked for something we both liked. It didn't matter what. And that, thank you, Maya, that prompts me to ponder, Philip, what she just said, looking for something we both like. And part of the spirit of what I think we're looking here, that what Swami Rama is suggesting, is can I go do that activity with the other person that is not an activity that I would normally choose?
That's right.
Can I still do that? It's like taking the walk in the woods. And what was the other one? One was taking a walk in the woods, and the other was
piano. And then he talked about their choice of clothing.
Clothing and a walk in the woods.
Well, and I think the principle, the other part of that is not going for a walk in the woods with the person and complaining the whole time or thinking that you'd rather be doing something else, but how do you create the awareness of trying to be content with that?
Yes. And so we each have to do it internally with relation to the other person. Hi, Yolanda.
Hi. All right, so now we'll transition into how husbands don't communicate with their wives. Perfect one for this is going to get uncomfortable as you guys watch this here.
It's going to get uncomfortable on Philip, huh? It starts with often husbands.
Often husbands do not take the time to share and communicate with their wives. They become excessively involved in their work while their wives wait for them at home. That certainly is shifting a little bit. Maybe it's also on the other foot where the wives become excessively involved in their work while the husband waits at home too. So just
now, is there a complaint in that? Am I hearing a complaint in that?
No, not at all. I was
Okay.
just trying to bring it to like present day stuff where there are many women in the workforce, and the shoe can be on the other foot. So
you were trying to share this hang up with your wife. I understand.
That's exactly right. See right through it over there.
Moving
on over here to the. I said, moving on over here.
Yeah.
A woman whose husband does not participate in the marriage may begin to crave attention and emotional contact and feel frustrated in the marriage. When women become lonely or feel a lack of communication with their husbands, they may become emotional, eat or drink to excess, or seek fulfillment elsewhere. If a husband comes home feeling tired and then withdraws from his wife and children by reading the newspaper, switching on the TV, or even going to sleep, his wife may feel betrayed because he is treating her like a piece of furniture. Not a good thing. Similarly, if a wife is not interested in her husband's feelings and the experiences that are important to him, he may feel she does not participate in his life. Going back to the whole participation part right here.
There's your sentence, Philip, that it goes both ways.
Goes both ways. Thank you. He didn't start off with the sentence that. He concluded it, though. Some husbands are away from home all day and do not share any meaningful time with their wives. They do not understand why there are problems in their relationships. They do not understand why there are problems in relationships, but one part of the problem is they fail to participate in communication or sharing. These days, both partners may work outside the home and have little time to talk or share their feelings. I think that is key, and certainly in households today, when you have kids, you're constantly being pulled in different directions, and I do see when my wife and I go off a little bit, it's this breakdown of communication, and it's this breakdown of, even more so, it's this breakdown of participation. Being vested in what they're doing and doing. Women often need a different kind of companionship and communication than men think they need. Some men want to demonstrate their virility through sexual contact, but they fail to understand that real communication requires something more. The physical experience alone doesn't satisfy a woman. When they talk about their marriage, women say they want companionship, a sense of participation, and understanding. If a woman does not receive these in her marriage, she may react strongly. If she is weak or insecure, she may become depressed, and if she is stronger, she may lose her temper with her husband. Neither reaction helps the marriage. Violent emotions can be as dangerous as suppressed emotions. A man should listen to his wife and try to understand her feelings rather than making her suppress her feelings by asserting to her that they are wrong. Many modern
Take that, Philip.
Yeah, no, this is good. As I'm reading I'm taking notes over here.
Good.
Later. Yeah, we'll come back to that. Yeah, absolutely. Many modern marriages are unsuccessful because they lack a solid foundation. They are based on material success or the partner's physical charms and attractions. How many times a week can a couple have sex if there is no deeper communication? At first, this intimacy may be pleasant, but after some time, if there is no deeper sharing, people get bored and think that changing their partner is a solution to the problem. Married life can help people to regulate and balance their sexual urge by providing a healthy and satisfying sexual outlet. If they recognize that although sex is a biological necessity, Marriage is meant to help couples attain a higher goal than mere biological needs. Sometimes people ask me how husbands and wives can help each other in marriage. The most important way to help your spouse, here it is, the most important way to help your spouse is by understanding and accepting that person. Allow them to be themselves and enjoy their personality. So I want to pause there because I think the understanding and accepting, certainly from the personality part, but the other part that, Swamiji, you and I always talk about is the understanding, accepting, understanding that they are Atman.
That seems to be very helpful. At the core of that other person, can I see the divine, the pure consciousness in that person?
Sure.
And of course, it helps us be able to see it in ourselves. Sometimes, often, it's easier to see that in another person than in ourselves because we are aware of our own crap going on inside, our own hang-ups.
Yes.
So it's easy to think, oh, me, something's wrong with me. Not that the other person is perfect, but it's sometimes easier to see the animation of prana, that the prana, the life force itself, is just animating through that person.
Yeah. And once you see the Atman, then it's easier to enjoy the personality because you just see that it's superimposed on that, and you can sit back and enjoy it.
Yeah.
When I studied marriages all over the world, I was surprised to discover that many couples say they do not fully understand each other even after they have lived together for 40 years. This frequently happens because the husband thinks only of his own desires. He does not take the time to understand his wife's nature, preferences, or viewpoint. But if he does not understand her, he cannot help her and she will not be satisfied or fulfilled in the relationship. Understanding your spouse and accepting his or her feelings is a higher and more important step than simply satisfying the person's superficial desires. If your wife wants a new dress, you could say, we have plenty of money, just go buy yourself a beautiful dress. But that isn't going to satisfy her. It isn't really what is important to her. Let her see what you are interested enough in. Let her see that you are interested enough to participate in fulfilling her desires and take a loving interest in this process. So just to
that must mean you have to go dress shopping, Philip.
Yeah, which there is no stronger spiritual practice than acting content while in a mall dress shopping when you'd rather be doing something else. It's one of the highest. It's almost like being able to set the bird on fire as you gave that.
It's right up there on the top.
If you want to get to the enlightenment, being able to be content at the mall like that is, you're kind of like right there, right? And then boom, next step.
Yeah, that's it. Dress shopping, that'll do it.
But one example, kind of bring this full circle, and I think we need to wrap it up because we've been close to 45. But I started talking about, I gave this intro in the Hillary Clinton and the election, and again, that'd be political. I'm just going back to this as a practical example for Candy and for a lot of women that were going through that. I watched in particular, my wife, there were a lot of emotions that were coming up about women, about her history as being a woman and all the oppression and crap that she'd had to go through. And I remember initially it was kind of like, what's the big deal about these types of things? But really it was this participation and interest that is being recommended here, the instruction of talking with her and seeing this. And I learned a lot more in that process about her struggles and her viewpoint of what it's like to be a woman in this world. And I felt like it gave us a deeper part of our relationship and was able to at least bring us closer together in a time of turmoil than further apart for people that I've heard that just kind of ignored that. And I just thought that was a real kind of practical example, bringing it back to what we started off into this discussion, and is about this participation and showing interest in trying to seek to understand a little bit more. And so I think it's good stuff.
Comes down to the seeking, doesn't it? What was the last sentence we just said here?
We said, I think we're going to start at similarly a wife can take an active role.
Why don't we do that sentence, because the next is there are several guidelines. That's a good little cliffhanger.
That is good. If he is interested in sports, she may want to share some athletic activities with him or share time by appreciating his enthusiasms. Each partner should enjoy the other's interests and not be threatened by them.
Yeah, isn't that amazing how you get her to go out and help you mow the lawn?
It's just such an easy thing for her to do. Yes, absolutely.
There it is. And so the cliffhanger is guidelines for establishing a healthy marriage.
Wow, that's a big one.
That's a pretty nice cliffhanger. To be continued. Okay?
Yeah, so thanks everybody for playing.
Yeah. We have Europe. It's European Day. We have 2 duchies and a Spaniard.
All right.
Thank
Good.
you, Maya, Yolanda, Jose.
I think these principles are international. They're international.
These are international.
But
international standards.
International standards.
And so love and family life. Yes. To be continued.
Same bad time, same bad channel next week.
Okay. Bye-bye, Yolanda.
Bye, Yolanda.
Bye-bye, Philip. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Everybody have a nice meditation. Have nice relationships, huh?
Have lots of love and lots of family life.
Lots of love and lots of family life. Even that's what this little ashram is about. It's just a different form of family life.
It is.
Okie dokie. There we go. Bye-bye. All dooey in honor of our duchies. Dooey.
Dooey.